Hello there. What is going on, everyone? Today we are back at another buyer's guide for Star Wars Legion. It is what to buy first when on a budget for the Rebels in Star Wars Legion in 2023. This is going to be my starter buyer's guide if you're a new player jumping into Star Wars Legion, or you're looking to jump over and swap factions around. This is going to be a great starting place for you, and hopefully you find this helpful. I want to preface this with a couple of things. This is just going to be some of my suggestions. I obviously have my own bias. I want you to think about the things in Star Wars that you like. So if you see an expansion that you think is going to be really, really cool, I think you should definitely go for that. I want you to buy stuff that you're going to enjoy. But some people want some additional advice, and that's kind of what this is there for. This is no means an authoritative list or a comprehensive list. I'm not going to cover every expansion that exists. I'm going to cover some of them, some that I think are a good idea when you're beginning your journey, and maybe even a few that are like intermediate. But just because I don't recommend something early doesn't mean you shouldn't get it. So for example, if I don't tell you to get Lando Calrissian, that doesn't mean you can't get Lando Calrissian. You can buy him first if you like Lando. So always lead with your heart, have fun, enjoy painting, enjoy playing the games both casually and competitively, enjoy your camaraderie with your fellow players, and always have a good time playing, rolling dice, moving miniatures around, and building terrain tables, all that good stuff that come with Star Wars Legion. If you guys are new here to the channel, I'm doing a giveaway right now for a $25 Amazon gift card. A few days left to enter to win that. All you have to do is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. It's as simple as that. Also, big thanks to today's sponsor, Luxury Playstyle. They make amazing tokens that are compatible with games like Star Wars Legion, Star Wars X-Wing, Magic the Gathering, Keyforge, etc. Check them out. You're going to love their Legion-specific tokens. They're absolutely amazing. I helped design these as well, so I'm really, really proud of these. They came out so wonderfully. They are just absolutely gorgeous. You're going to love them. Check them out. Use code Crabbok VIP to save 15% on these tokens as well. So you're gonna head over to luxuryplaystyle.com and check them out. All right, with that being said, let's go ahead and start on our list of what to buy first for the Rebel Alliance. Let's start off with the Legion Core set. It's the first thing I usually tell people to get. For one, it's a pretty good value based on everything that you're getting in there. It used to be a little cheaper. It's gone up in price, as most things have, and over time, most things will continue to do. However, it's a complete game experience on a smaller scale. A full game of Legion is 800 points, right? This isn't going to get you an 800-point Rebel army. It's going to get you about half of that, right? Like just to almost to the halfway point. However, this allows you to play a small game of Rebels versus a small game of Empire. You're actually getting two armies in here. I talked about this in my Imperial build as well. You're getting a whole bunch of stuff. You're getting Luke Skywalker. This is like Empire Strikes Back era Luke Skywalker. He's finally discovering his power. He's ready to, he's done a little bit of training with Yoda. He's ready to face Darth Vader, and he's a commander, right? And so he is, he's able to lead some troops, just much like you saw on Luke, on Empire Strikes Back. You're also going to get 2 units of Rebel Troopers. Those are core units. You're also going to get a little small walker, the ATRT. You may have seen those in the Clone Wars. Well, there are some still in service during the time of the Rebellion. You're going to get one of those in there. Plus, you're going to get Darth Vader, some speeder bikes, and some stormtroopers as well. And what's great about this, you're also going to get barricades. You're going to get dice. You're going to get movement tools, range tools, rules, and tokens, and all that kind of stuff. Keep in mind the rules have changed from what is in the base rulebook. That'll be enough to kind of teach you some of the basics, but there's a whole new rulebook, and so you should definitely head over to atomicmassgames.com and check out their Legion section. There's a new rulebook. There's also errata. A lot of things have changed, like Darth Vader from the core set has been changed a little bit significantly. And a lot of other units change and stuff like that. But still, this is a good way to get yourself a complete test game. You're getting barricades. You can even have a little terrain. You can use anything you want for terrain. You can use a can of soda. You can use the game box itself as terrain, right? So you can use a lot of cool stuff like that as terrain. But it has some barricades that are really useful as terrain, and you're able to play the game this way, or split it with a friend if you want to do that. So I love the core set, but it's not a full army, right? And if you're looking for more of a full army, another option is the Echo Base Defenders. Now, this is a fantastic bundle This is a Battle Force box. Now, the Battle Forces are like a subset, a separate way to play. You don't have to run them as a Battle Force, but what that basically means is it's almost like a sub-faction. They've got some of their own special rules, and you'll find those on atomicmassgames.com. But this is just a great way to start out the game, or a great way to augment your core set, because you're getting lots of new stuff in this Battle Force. You're getting Leia, and you're getting Chewie, and you're getting Tauntauns, and you're getting Echo Base Defenders, right? These Rebel Veterans. So they're called Rebel Veterans in the game. But they're just so cool. You've got Leia and Chewie. You've got the 4 units. You've got C-3PO and R2-D2. It's another fantastic add-on that they put in here. You're getting C-3PO and R2-D2 that were previously only available in this terrain pack, and it was kind of overpriced for a terrain pack, or for at least because people were generally just buying it to get C-3PO and R2-D2. So now you get them thrown in here. You're getting an FD laser cannon, and you're getting 2 Tauntaun riders. Tons of stuff, plus some special Battle Force cards if you want to run the Echo Base Defender Battle Force, which is going to be typically the stuff you saw at the Battle of Hoth in Empire Strikes Back. There's going to be a lot of stuff that you can't use in there, like you won't be able to use Lando in the Echo Base Defenders. But all of these units you can use in a regular Rebel list or in the Echo Base Defenders kind of sub-faction. They call those Battle Forces if you are new to the game. So when I say Battle Force, I'm talking about like a sub-faction of the Rebels. There's sub-factions for all of the factions. Think of, for example, the Republic is a faction, but the 501st is a sub-faction or a battle force in there. And so all of these have battle forces, and it's a way for them to kind of bundle a bunch of units together in this battle force box and give you a great value. Granted, it's $149. It's a little more expensive than your core set, and it doesn't come with an Imperial army, so you're not going to have an opponent to play against with just this, unless you split them up and do like Rebels versus Rebels or something like that. But there's really not enough here to do that. It's not what this is designed to do. This is designed to be like either a supplementary box to increase your Rebel army, or to be its own army all on its own. Great value, lots of great units in here, and there's really no overlap with the core set, which I love. Now, if you started with the core set and then bought some of these, because these are all available individually, and you're saving like over $100 if you were to buy everything pieced out individually here. Plus, sometimes you can find these even on sale a little cheaper than MSRP. If you're a thrifty shopper. However, I want to point out something. If you buy this Battle Force set or any of the Battle Force boxes as instead of the core set, you will need to pick up an Essentials kit. An Essentials kit is going to have all of the stuff that's in the Battle Force box that you need to play the game that don't come in there. So it's one way. It's like a cost reduction thing, since they figured maybe a lot of people already have some of the tokens and tools and dials and things like that to play the game. All the stuff that comes in the core set, a lot of people already have that stuff, so maybe they wanted to buy the Battle Force box and not have to kind of pay for all the extra plastic and cardboard. All that stuff is going to come in the Essentials kit. If you already have a core set, you probably don't need the Essentials kit unless you want duplicates of stuff, or I think you get some skirmish cards, because skirmish is a smaller version of Legion where you can play a smaller build. There's lots of different game modes for Legion. So, but yeah, this is a good thing if you're getting the Battle Force boxes. But regardless, whichever one is a good starting point. If you can afford both, I would say get the core set and the Echo Base Defenders. You'll have lots of Rebels. You could do a test game with just the core set and learn the basics, and then use Echo Base Defender box to expand your Rebel army very, very quickly, all in one box, and added tremendous savings. But not everybody can afford this, so again, this is an option. If maybe you only want Chewbacca, well then you can buy a Chewbacca standalone expansion. You don't necessarily have to buy this whole box just to get Chewbacca, but at the end of the day, great savings in this box. Highly recommend it. After you've gotten started, you've learned the game, you're looking to get some extra expansions, I think the Rebel Specialists is a fantastic addition to the game. It is basically 4 miniatures that can go in and augment your existing core units. Now, whichever option you've chosen to start your Rebel build, you're going to have core units. A standard army needs 3 different core units. Those are similar to like Battle Line in other games and things like that. They're just your basic infantry, your basic troops. And this is 4 different ways to augment those troops. Additionally, this leader, the guy you kind of see on the front, can also be run as a standalone unit, and he counts as a Rebel commander. So you can run him either as a standalone commander or run him as a kind of like a platoon leader or a squad leader rather in a single single rebel core unit, rebel troopers, fleet troopers, or rebel veterans, or whatever you decide you want to run. So he's very cool from that aspect. But you've also got a medic in there, a comms person, and a repair astromech. All right, so you've got some different things that you can outfit your builds depending on how you want to run them. And the price point is pretty good for the amount of versatility that this gets. A lot of people who become more experienced Legion players will end up getting multiples of these. The medics that come in here are really useful. The leaders that come in here are useful. A lot of people will probably like 2 of a lot of things to give them some versatility. You can get more than that if you want. You could buy even up to 6 of these if you really wanted to. But yeah, at least one of these is a good starting point. If you're going to definitely play them a little more seriously, I would look at probably at least getting 2 over time. But since this is a budget list, let's just start with 1. I also want to recommend the Legion Upgrade Card Pack. This is going to give you a ton of upgrades that were sort of faction locked or individual expansion locked at the time that the Star Wars Clone Wars core set came out. This was like halfway through Legion's lifespan. They put a lot of different cards that you may not have access to if you're only playing one faction in this pack. Plus, it's going to give you extra cards, extra upgrades, extra configuration options for a lot of your units. You may not have everything that the Rebels have to offer. A lot of basically upgrade cards would come out exclusive to certain waves or certain expansions or certain boxes. And maybe you wanted to add this new Force ability to Luke Skywalker, but it was only available in the Obi-Wan Kenobi starter box for the Clone Wars, and all of a sudden now you can get it here. So, and for only $9.95, great value. You're getting a ton of extra upgrade cards, new players. It's just the price is right, and it's giving you a lot of stuff. Very cool. All right, moving forward. Han Solo. I'm going to recommend Han Solo. He has seen some errata. So if you buy him, the card that's in there doesn't exactly reflect how he is right now. He now has steady, which is a really, really cool keyword. Again, always check out the AtomicMassGames.com website. Go to Legion and look at errata. You're going to see updated versions of these cards. Han Solo has been buffed. He is much better than he was at launch. Plus, if you have the Echo-based Defender set, you've already got Chewbacca, who works extremely well with Han Solo. They're practically inseparable. It's almost like when they were making this, they watched the movies and said, hey, these two go together. Let's make sure they play together in the game as well. Han Solo's fantastic. But, I mean, he's good by himself also, but he's especially good if you've got Chewbacca. And the next couple of things I'm going to recommend kind of work a little better depending on what you've started with, right? But if you take both of my starting suggestions, then you're going to be golden. Like the Rebel Trooper upgrade box. This one's going to be better if you started with the core set and have a couple of units of Rebel Troopers. Or if you just decided you wanted to buy standalone Rebel Trooper expansions, which I usually don't recommend because I usually recommend the core set. But if you've got Rebel Troopers already, amazing box here. Now, this does have 4 separate minis, kind of like that Rebel Specialists. These are going to be minis specifically that will augment a Rebel Trooper unit. It's a very cool type of upgrade. Now, you can also run these 4 together as one basic Rebel Trooper unit, but that's generally not done because they have different specialty models, and if this is your only Rebel Trooper unit, you wouldn't be able to run the specialty models. So most people typically buy these and use these specialty, like there's a sniper in here, there's a special Rebel leader, and all kinds of cool stuff like that that can go into those Rebel Trooper units. And you want to use those to augment the Rebel Trooper units and make them even more powerful. And it gives you new options for minis that you already have. You can have like 4 Rebel Trooper units that now they're all built with like brand new options that you didn't have available to you. So it's a very, very cool expansion pack, and it gives you 4 minis for a fairly decent price, which is kind of cool. Sabine Wren, good for any army, I think. Obviously, she's not in the Echo-based Defenders, so if you wanted to run her with Leia and Chewie and all those units, you wouldn't be able to run that specific battle force, so you wouldn't be able to use the special command cards that come there, but you can still run a normal Rebel build and build whatever you want. Sabine is fantastic. I just want to say that. She is a really, really good... she's a good model. She's fun to paint, especially if you've got a super tiny paintbrush, and you can get in and do all of those little tiny details. It's very cool to be able to do that with her. But I really like Sabine. She has some great synergies. She's very well-rounded. She comes with the Darksaber. The Darksaber is It's a lightsaber, right? So she's another lightsaber. You'll already have like Commander Luke Skywalker. Darksaber is going to work a little differently, but it makes her good, a good option to be a good defender against someone like Darth Vader if you're playing against another lightsaber user. She also has really good ranged attacks. She has some really cool command cards. She can drop bombs and blow stuff up. Very, very fun character. And one of the things that I really like about her is she was made even better with the introduction of the Clan Wren unit expansion. Now, this is a slightly more expensive expansion. It's $39.99. Really, really recommend this one for a number of reasons. First off, it's Mandalorians, so they're freaking cool. I mean, I honestly... And again, this is some of my bias that's creeping in. I told you I was going to have some of my own bias in this list. This is one of those. But they work so well with Sabine. So these are kind of like a package deal. If you don't like Mandos, then maybe you can skip Sabine, and then maybe you could skip Clan Wren. Like I said at the beginning, buy whatever you are really into. If I don't suggest something on here, but you really like it, you should still go for it. Okay. But these guys also can be run different ways. So you can run like a generic Mandalorian unit out of here, or you can run the Clan Wren unique unit, which represents Sabine's family. Her mom is in there, her brother is in there. It's like a small elite strike team almost. Very cool stuff. I definitely recommend it. It's going to be a fun one to run with Sabine. They get bonuses if they're near Sabine. And these came out after Sabine did. So it was like a nice way to kind of make her a little bit better, because now she's also giving out free tokens to her family and things like that. So it's just a very fun build to run. You can paint them up real nice. They come with flight stands too, so they're flying all over the place. They're just super cool. Super, super groovy unit. I love them. They're some of my favorites. They have tough armor too. Rebels are notoriously, as a faction, known for having very weak armor. And so these guys also, like, they contrast against one of the biggest Rebel weaknesses is that white dice armor. We call it like a t-shirt save. Rebels don't have the money to have like Stormtrooper armor and stuff like that, right? So, but these guys do. So they're pretty groovy. I want to go back to my next suggestion here. Going back to the Echo Base Defenders. If you got this is a really good... honestly, the T-47 is just a really good buy anyway. But it's even better if you're running Echo Base Defenders, because first off, it's thematic, and second off, it's a great unit. I mean, it works in any Rebel build. You don't have to run these just if you're doing a Hoth battle force, right? You can run these as, if you're just doing a regular Rebel list. The T-47 is a heavy, right? It's a heavy vehicle. It's got really good anti-vehicle stopping power. It's got great mobility. There's these compulsory moves. It can zip all over the battlefield. It shoots a hard shot. It's better than the card that comes in the box, because this is another one of those units that got some significant errata. You will definitely want to check out atomicmassgames.com and look at the new errata. It's a really, really competitive, fun, and very successful vehicle. And the price point on this thing is only $34.99 MSRP. Like, that's crazy inexpensive for a heavy vehicle. Heavy vehicles sometimes are much closer to $100 than to $35, right? They're very, some of them are, and granted, because it's a little bit less plastic because it's flying, but it's a really, really cool vehicle. I like it, and that price point is just great. Wouldn't be talking about the Rebels if we weren't also talking about Luke Skywalker, am I right? He's so good. He works just about anywhere, and the only reason I have him like this far back into the list is because you already have a Luke Skywalker if you bought the core set, so maybe some of your first purchases shouldn't be to duplicate existing purchases, maybe. And again, it all depends on what you want to do. Me personally, I would have probably bought this guy as one of my very first purchases if I was getting into the game today, because he is so cool. Obviously, I'm of a certain age where I remember seeing Return of the Jedi when it was new. And, it's like this Luke showing up in black with the green lightsaber was one of the coolest things ever. And, people of a certain age will definitely remember that differently than maybe people who are older today. Or younger, rather, today. So anyway, Luke is really cool. But not only is he just cool and awesome and looks great and he's iconic and all of that stuff, he's an extremely effective unit in the game. He's a very, very good and very deadly unit. Has seen a very, very, very slight nerf with some of the recent rules changes, but not so much that, I still think he's very competitive. and also very fun. So I think Luke is going to continue to do well in the game as a whole, but also he's super cool, and he's only $19, right? All right, let's keep moving. A fairly new expansion, Boba Fett. Now this is, we're kind of closing in towards the end of the list. I have a few more, but this is stuff after you've been playing for a little while. And again, this is definitely going to be open to your tastes. You don't have to. This is, I'm at the rear half of the suggestions. But this is the Daimyo operative for Boba Fett. So this isn't the Boba Fett you see in Empire Strikes Back. This is the Boba Fett you see in the Book of Boba Fett or in Mandalorian Season 2. It really, I think it was more designed based on Mando Season 2, and then Book of Boba Fett also came out and kind of lent a little bit to this, because it's based on like when it was made and when it came out and stuff like that. There's a couple of cool things about this expansion. Now, this is going to be something I think you should be playing the game for a while before you buy, because he's a mercenary. And what that means is he's got some new special rules on how he can be included in armies and how he activates. So it's a little bit more of an advanced tech on how you play him. Not that hard, but he probably shouldn't be in your first list, right? You should probably play a couple of games and get a little more comfortable with the rules before you start trying mercenaries. But with that being said, he is really cool. He is also going to help your existing Boba Fett, because Boba Fett first came out for the Empire, and he's been changed to be a mercenary also. So you can go with that, that Empire Strikes Back version of Boba Fett, basically younger, or I should say like 20-somethings Boba, or you can go with old man Boba here. The difference is 20-somethings Boba is going to work with the Empire, and old man Boba is going to work with the rebels, right? And so you've got like good Boba versus evil Boba, and this is kind of goodish Boba. The reason I point that out is they each come with different command cards, and this guy's command cards are really, really good. They're better than evil Boba's command cards. But if you're a dual faction player, this is great, because good Boba's command cards can also be played with evil Boba. And so like when you buy, and that's really the case on anytime there's like a duplicate character, like if there's multiple versions of Darth Vader, there's multiple versions of Luke Skywalker, so on and so forth. Whenever they make multiple versions of a character, that's usually a boost for all versions of that character. So if you're a multi-faction player, there's even more value in this. Now, the price point on individual minis went up recently, so that's why you'll see some that are over 20 and some that are under 20. Some of the old ones are still at the old price point. And so that's why this one's going to be a little bit more expensive. But he's a cool miniature. He definitely looks really cool. He's a very effective, type of character on the board as well. So I think he's cool. And that bonus value, since if you're a dual faction player. If you're a fan of Rogue One, there's actually a lot of stuff that kind of goes into this pick. But I think Cassian and K2SO are a great buy. Again, $19.95. What's cool about this is you're getting two characters in this box. You're getting Cassian Andor and you're getting K2SO. You don't have to run K2SO if you're running Cassian, but if you want to run K2SO, you have to have Cassian. So K2 can go with Cassian, but you can also run Cassian by himself. And they're two different miniatures. They just, K2, like, he doesn't go out on his own without Cassian, right? But Cassian can go out on his own without K2SO. But very cool. He's a very effective leader. He works really well if you got other stuff that's not on this list, but it's a possibility. So I'll just talk about it briefly. Jyn Erso also exists, and Rebel Pathfinders also exist, and they all synergize very, very well together. So on their own, they're a little more advanced tech. They're not, I wouldn't recommend them for beginners as much. They're very good units. But out of all of that, the Rogue One Rebel units that exist right now, I would put Cassian and K2SO at the top of the list if you're a new player on a budget. For one, you're getting, two completely different miniatures. You're getting Cassian Andor and you're getting K2SO. Cassian has multiple configurations. He can be run in kind of short range, or he can be run in ultra long range as a really awesome sniper. And he's more versatile, I think, than everybody else. He's just overall a really good unit in the game. And K2SO is actually really cool too. He's also one of those few Rebel units that has that red save. He's got tougher armor. He literally has armor. He's at armor 1 on him. He's a droid trooper, and he's pretty cool. If you're playing more more and more often, you'll probably want to expand upon your games. So there are certain battlefield expansions that exist for Legion, and what these do is they have a little bit of terrain and they have some battle cards. And the vital assets is probably the best purchase to get. It's got these bomb carts, some hostage miniatures, some crates, and different things like that. These are used for specific game modes that are, well, not really game modes, but basically you're going to get new battle cards here. Every time you play Legion, like the standard game of Legion, you're going to have a condition, a deployment, and an objective. It's going to basically be where you're allowed to set up, how you win, and what's different about the battlefield this time than last time. Right? Those are those 3 cards. Well, there's only 4 of each in the core box, and so this adds to that. It gives you some new options, and it's going to make your games even more varied. Especially if you've been playing for a little while, maybe some of your games you're seeing repeat objectives, repeat deployments, repeat conditions, come out over and over again. Now you're going to have a lot more ways to spice up your games and be like, oh, well, now we can set up in these weird other places, and now we can play, to drop off bombs on each other as opposed to just try to hold the objective point. So Vital Assets is really good for that. It's a great way once you have an army, you've tried out a couple of builds, you played a lot of games, and you're starting to get stale. This is a great way to do that. Another battlefield expansion that I recommend is the Priority Supplies. It's a little bit cheaper, but it only comes with 1 new objective, condition, and deployment. So it doesn't give you as much as Vital Assets does, but it's a little bit cheaper. Now, I will say, though, that the battlefield, or the deployment, objective, and condition that come in here are 3 of they're probably some of the most popular ones in the game. They're very, very they get taken in a lot of lists, and so they're very good games to play. So I include this one also. There are other battlefield expansions. A lot of them are like terrain or something like that, and I don't really recommend the other ones as much, unless, of course, you really want any particular piece of terrain, like a downed ATST or the crashed X-wing or the bunker, or there's quite a few of them out there now, but not all of them add something to the standard game. A lot of them are a terrain piece, and then they come with like their own special scenario that you can play, and that's fine. But this and Vital Assets have cards that affect the standard game, the wider game, the game that you're going to see being played in public, or that if you were to go to a tournament, these are all tournament legal cards that come in here. So that's why these are on my list, because they're going to be used a lot more widely than like a custom scenario just for 1 terrain piece. Moving forward a little bit, we're getting into some of the more advanced stuff. Din Djarin and Grogu is a really cool operative expansion. He's also, obviously from The Mandalorian, right? But yes, I should say the Book of Boba Fett's star character, Din Djarin and Grogu, are here. Very, very effective character, very fun, very recognizable. This might be your first purchase. Currently out of stock as the time of making this video. Might be your first purchase. Very, very popular character as far as all of Disney right now. Has a couple of different ways you can build him. You can run him with a spear. You can run him with the long-range rifle if you want. Close range bounty hunter available to the rebels. Really cool stuff. Comes with 2 different Grogu models. You can run him with Grogu. You can run him without Grogu. People love Grogu also. He's a little more on the expensive side, and he is also a mercenary. A lot of the newer units that are kind of unsavory individuals or weren't, staunchly aligned with the Rebel Alliance tend to be mercenaries, and he is one. He can also go in the Empire, although you can't bring Grogu to the Empire. He can go he work for the Empire by himself, kind of like how he was doing bounty hunting before he found Grogu. So think very much like Mando Season 1. He can kind of be like that in this particular expansion. So great value if you're a dual faction player. If you're only playing the Rebels, he's still good. He still feels more like a Rebel than an Imperial bounty hunter. And Grogu is interesting. He's kind of fun, but I don't really recommend running him in too many competitive lists. But since he's cute and can do some unpredictable things, then he's still worth taking in a couple of casual games for sure. A little more expensive, but really cool unit. I want to mention this. And there's a lot of other things that I've talked about. Like, I think the Rebel Commandos is another really nice unit to talk about because they have strike teams and they have a full unit. You should definitely check those out. Rebel Commandos are kind of cool too, but there's so many different things. The only thing I don't like about the Rebel Commandos is they look so similar than the regular Rebel troopers. They both are based on that Endor designs, where it can be sometimes a little confusing. So just a little bit. It depends on how you paint them. But for something like this, and we're getting into like some of the really optional stuff. The AA5 is just a really cool transport. It may not be at the top of a lot of people's lists. It looks kind of like, if you've seen Spaceballs, right? It looks like the Winnebago a little bit. It was kind of a deep cut. It was pulled from some more obscure canon references, but basically it's a big van with that can be outfitted with no guns, or a small gun, or a really big gun on top. It can do all kinds of support on the battlefield. And one of the best things that it has is it's the first way for the rebels to really drop off a unit, a whole squad of troops. This is good for the Rebel fleet troopers. If you happen to, they're not on this list. I love them, but they're not the most easy unit to play, and they don't really work as well. They work better if you have an AA5 speeder, as well as so do Wookiees. Wookiees are really cool too. I don't have them on this list because they're close range. They're dual factions, so there's value in them. But I just there's something else to consider. But not everybody's going to want to run Wookiees. But they have some advantage. But there's also some confusion, because there was an old unit of Wookiees that only had Rebel Wookiees, and then there's the new Wookiee unit, which has more options and has new, better models, and is also dual factions. So that's clearly the better option to run, but I feel like it was going to cause confusion, right? So maybe we'll talk about that in another video. I've done some Wookiee unboxing, so if you have questions about the Wookiees, you can jump in our Discord and talk more about those, because it's a little bit of a complicated situation. But anyway, I think the AA5 is good for a lot of Rebel lists. It can do everything from drop off and deliver, to be an ambulance and heal things, to running people over, to handing out aim tokens, to blasting, to being a battle bus. It does a whole lot of really cool stuff. It is awfully expensive, though. So if you're on a budget, this was probably something you might really want to wait on. It depends. And what makes this more of a value is if you are thinking of running Shadow Collective or getting more into Mercenaries, because at the end of the list is the second upgrade card pack, what's called Upgrade Card Pack 2. This one has a little bit of stuff for all the factions. It's really designed to take some of the existing units that were out there and give them some of their mercenary cards. Again, it's got upgrades. It's got some new stuff for the AA5. It can allow the AA5 to be run in, you can run that in your Scum, basically your Shadow Collective, and potentially future battle forces that will allow it to basically run, gives you more versatility for some of the things that you may already have. But again, this is towards the end. It's something that I think only advanced players who are trying to expand or run multiple factions will really need. But it's also pretty cheap, so it's a good idea to have it. It has a lot of errated things in there, some change, like the new versions of Boba Fett, Cad Bane, and Bosk are in there, although those aren't characters that you're going to be using if you're a Rebel player. So again, the more factions you play, the better something like this is. And I think that's kind of about it for most of my list on what to buy first. There is plenty more available. There's a lot of stuff available. Like, if you want to just browse a lot of the expansions, you can go over to shop.asmodee.com and search for Star Wars Legion. You can see a ton of it there. That's actually what I was using behind me for all of this stuff, is some of their entries. You can get a little product description, look at MSRP, and you can do whatever you want there. But definitely check them out, and stay tuned for more videos very similar to this. I talk about all of the other factions. I recently did What to Buy First for the Empire. I do these every year or two because things change. Sometimes units get nerfed, sometimes units get increased and buffed. There's a lot of that. Sometimes new products come out, like the Battle Force boxes really changed some of the consideration and the order in which you might buy certain things. And ultimately, go with your heart. Do whatever you think you really want to buy. But if you're interested in my thoughts, this was all of them. So feel free to rewatch, check out some more videos if you want to put some links over here in a little bit. Big thanks to my patrons. You guys are absolutely amazing and help make this whole thing possible. So thank you for your continued support. I will talk to you guys later. May the Force be with you. Live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes. So say we all. You can't take the sky from me, and the spice must flow.